You know, I told you my dad was my first teacher in diplomacy. I shadowed him, and I told you in those days, and that's another thing I would tell the youth of today.
Before your title First Lady, Ambassador and Humanitarian, who was young Olufolake?
While many chose different paths, she made a decision of her own. She chose to follow a purpose rooted in service, leadership, and a desire to make a difference. That journey led her into diplomacy, where every conversation, every connection, and every opportunity became a chance to contribute to something greater. Today, Ambassador Olufolake Abdulrazaq's story reminds us that meaningful success is built over time.
From the home, like I said, is your first school. And a lot of the things that you take outside, your confidence and everything else, is shaped from home. So if you're not listened to at home, if you're not given an opportunity to speak, if you're not given an opportunity to shine or to participate in things, how do you now navigate the world? Any diplomat would tell you. So diplomacy is a lot of negotiation. So you have to learn your negotiation techniques. You have to be able to sit at a table and not get broken. Even when a comma in a document is threatening to derail. So when you're negotiating and you have to interpret in different languages, sometimes certain phrases mean different things in different languages. So you know what? Be ready so you don't have to get ready.
Hey guys, welcome to Blueprint of Success. In today's video, we have a special guest. She's one of the most amazing, beautiful individuals you would ever meet. So, welcome to Blueprint of Success.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here to join you today.
Fantastic. So, just before we get going, what do we expect our audiences would learn from this podcast?
Well, I think they'll learn about women in leadership. They'll learn about what it means to be a first lady. They'll learn about what it means to be an ambassador. I've done over 33 years in the diplomatic world. Just little snippets of advice, how we hope things will go for the youth in the years to come, what they need to look out for, and how we expect leadership to look like in Africa in the coming years.
Fantastic. I love that. Before we get going, before your title First Lady, Ambassador and Humanitarian, who was young Olufolake and what did she dream her life would become?
So young Olufolake was born in Lagos, Nigeria, and had a love for life. I've always loved, a glamour, even as a young child, jewelry. I've loved flowers from way before I could even, think about other things. And Falake, oh my God, you have a photo. Yes. That is baby Falake. That's my first birthday.
Wow.
So you can see that I'm right when I say I love jewelry. You can see I'm wearing the beads, the earrings, the bracelet, and I'm posed right by my first birthday cake.
Beautiful,
so
beautiful
this is Falake in a nutshell. So loving life, loving the camera. I think I've always been an extrovert. But sometimes, it's a little bit difficult to know if you're just an extrovert. There's a new term now called ambivert, which is sort of like a mixture between an extrovert and an introvert. Sometimes you are more extroverted than others. Sometimes you need your own personality. And I think ambivert might describe a lot more people now that felt they did not quite fit into being an extrovert or an introvert. So that was Falake. Picked up flowers, had a penchant for learning, loved fashion even as a very young girl. You can see my dressing. And I loved to pose. I loved photographs. I loved to listen at the feet of my parents and my grandmother. And a lot of travel. So travel has been part of my life from a very young age. So this is young Falake.
What was life like growing up when you were maybe around 6, 7 or maybe 10 years old?
Okay. So life in those days, we had Nigeria of those days and the US, which is where I spent my formative years between both countries, because my father was in our embassy in the US, and a lot of we spent with people in the diplomatic field, in journalism. It's nice that I'm doing a podcast now. I continue in journalism. My father was a journalist. He was also a playwright. He was also a diplomat, information attaché. So I followed him around, and I watched him when he was staging his plays on Voice of America, BBC Radio, and so many University of Massachusetts. I followed him all over the place. And his plays were just, they resonated with me. So from a very young age, I learned to read. I read avidly. I read so much, and reading and, interpreting his plays was part of my life. And therefore, I had a very literary bent. I could also write a few things. And so that was it. Life was very also, in those days, we spent a lot of time outdoors. We spent time on our roller skates, on our skateboards, on our bicycles. Myself and my younger sisters would take, before the boys came along. So we're a family of 3 girls first and then 2 boys. Take off on our bicycles, and ride for hours and hours and hours. Also, we had a sense of safety in those days. And now the world is a little bit more on edge when it comes to safety of children. And what we did in those days, I'm sure you've heard about the 70s, the 80s, where doors were unlocked in homes. You came back from school, you let yourself in. Your parents were not even in. You made yourself dinner. Then you got on your bicycle, you rode around the neighborhood. Honestly, that was our life. And there were no mobile phones when I was a child. So people always told their children to come home once the street lights came on, or once you see that it's starting to get dark. Please come home, because your mom couldn't call you on a mobile phone and say, where are you? So you had to have guidelines. So parents just said, come home when it's getting dark. And that was our life. Very physical, very outgoing. And we mixed a lot. And in those days also, in my family, there wasn't that strict regulation. The way it's done in the Mediterranean and still in Africa today, where you go out with your children, you go to dinner, late dinners, children are at the table with you till 10 o'clock sometimes. That was how it was in my house. So we used to have a lot of garden parties. My dad would have garden parties. He would have his colleagues in the diplomatic world, in the literary world, in the journalistic world. And they were all there. And you know what it is when you have literary people in a room. It's a lot of stories, a lot of storytelling, a lot of literary, So it was just so wonderful to listen to them talk and listen to the adults talk and have conversations. I believe that shaped me in a great way. Yes.
Inspiring. That is very, very inspiring. So moving to the US, assume Nigeria and the US is quite a different country, also different continent as well. Wow. What was life like moving from Nigeria to the US?
Well, I didn't remember a lot moving there. I was about 2.
Okay.
But, later on, I went to school. I remember my school. I remember my friends, a few of my friends. And I recently went back to my school and I went to visit them there, and I told them I would try my best to form linkages, come and have a chat in the school, come and talk to students possibly and all of that, because my formative years were there. And I remember a lot of things, gym, trampolining, and the fact that I'm left-handed. And almost half of my class was left-handed. So I didn't see a problem with being left-handed when I was in the US until I went back to Nigeria. And in some spaces, people would say you can't use your left hand, stop using your left hand. And it really gave me a few problems. But my parents were always like, you are special the way you are. You are, this is God's gift to you. There's nothing wrong with being left-handed. Remember your class in Washington, D.C.? Almost half of the class was left-handed. So you can see that there are a lot of people like you out there. So don't let it be a problem. So I was able to navigate life, in Nigeria, even though I was in those days, they would say, don't touch things with your left hand, don't shake with your left hand, don't do this with your left hand. But my family was very, very loving towards me. My grandmother, I would spend some days with my grandmother. She loved the fact that I was left-handed, and my parents didn't have a problem with it. So that was the only problem that I really had moving back to Nigeria. My younger sister, on the other hand, completely broke down and kept screaming and crying, I want to go home. But this is the thing about when you move children in our world. So there's so many careers where you have to move around the world. So you look at diplomacy, you look at probably the military, you look at so many fields, even these days where they headhunt from different parts of the world. So, the downside could be moving children around and how they feel when they have to move from one country to the other. But then eventually we adapted, and it was wonderful. When we finally settled, it was amazing. And Lagos in those days was just great. And we had a great time.
Fantastic. I love that. I love the family of 4, and you said you also have siblings now,
Yes.
our brothers as well.
Yes.
Was there any competition when you're young, like being smart, or maybe someone who's more kind of ambitious? Was there any competition within the family?
So, well, I'm the first child, the first of 5. There was a lot of, how it is with the firstborn child. You're like the guinea pig. They want you to do everything, they want you to try out everything, and they push you. So I know that a lot of firstborn children are driven because they are pushed early on to achieve, and they're always told to be an example to those coming behind. So you always feel that pressure to always show a good example and to always achieve. You don't want to be a failure because your younger ones will look at you and be like, they need to respect you, right? And they need to with some sense of pride. And then you need to be able to guide them. So you quickly take on sort of like a third parent role as a firstborn child, especially when you're a daughter. You have to now start putting them to bed, cooking dinner, and things like that. That was what it was. And the good thing, in those days, I didn't think it was so good, but now, with hindsight, I think it was genius. Honestly, everybody, give your children chores. Make sure your children learn skills in the household. Because, I would look at my mom and wonder, why is she telling me to do all of these things? And it's not fair. It's only me, I have to do this, I have to do that. But now, the way I multitask, I put it back to the training. My mom didn't want you sitting around. Even if there was help in the house, she wanted you to learn how to cook. She wanted you to know how to put your plates away. She wanted you to know how to wash and make sure that, you took care of your drawers, fold your clothes and make sure that your bed, even up till today, I cannot leave a house without my bed being made. Wow. It has to be made properly. Everything has to be, I wouldn't leave the house. So, and it's all because of that. Because, my mom would tell us, she would come inspect your room. Your room needs to be done well. Everything needs to be okay and done.
What part of that girl is still completely unchanged?
A lot of that girl is still unchanged because I still have a love for life. I still view life with wonder. I've been to many places several times, and each time I go back there, I view it with a new, with new eyes. I see things I didn't see the last time. I still take photos like it's my first time there. I still do videos, I walk around. So I'm still girly. I'm still very inquisitive. I want to know things. I want to learn more. That girl who would ride her bike for miles and miles and miles still does that. I'm all over the place. I move around, and it's been very useful in my line of work. Being a diplomat, being an ambassador, being a first lady, you have to crisscross several different places if you can't move. And then you also have to deal with several different types of people. From the highest of the high to the most indigent of people. We have to go into communities and be able to be amongst the people in the communities. You have to be able to dine with heads of states. You have to be able to move within all those spaces and be at home everywhere you go. And I'm at home everywhere I go. I love, love, love life. So that girl, is still very much a part of me. And I think I love that for me. I will always remain a girly girl.
Beautiful. I love that. Would you say you get that from your dad or your mother?
Interesting question. So I think a lot of the way that I speak, my literary bent, and a lot of all of that, the creativity is my dad, obviously, from the way he wrote books. I've now authored a few books, which reminds me, we've got to give you my books. I've authored some books now. So I decided to start writing like my dad did. So a lot of the literary and a lot of the speaking and all of that is from my father. A lot of the organization, because I am organized.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I am
That
organized.
I can tell. Even from your outfit, I can tell you're very organized.
And that organization is from my mother.
Oh, bless herself.
I told you how she made sure I could cook. She made sure my room is spotless. She made sure that, we had all these things. Going into university, she accompanied me. I'm the first child. She accompanied me the very first few weeks until I got settled in. Oh, you do this way, you do that, and all of that. And because she worked with what we call in Nigeria, it's in West Africa, it's the West Africa Examinations Council. And whenever I had exams, I would go to the WAEC building in Lagos at that time. I remember clearly. They had a library on like the 12th floor or something, and the views went on for miles, very calming. And then the air conditioning was, so chilling. And that is where she would put me to study. So a lot of the organization, making sure tasks are done, things are on point, that's from my mother.
Wow, I love that. I love that. Looking back then at school or university, have you ever been bullied at school?
I think almost everybody would have one, account of bullying or the other. Unfortunately, children can be cruel. Unfortunately, children, sometimes don't realize, from some of the things they say, how damaging it can be. So yes, of course, I told you already, I'm left-handed. So when I got back to Nigeria, being left-handed was sometimes ridiculed. They would be like, why are you left-handed? You shouldn't be left-handed. Don't touch that with your left hand. I heard it over and over and over again. It used to distress me. I used to completely be distressed, but my parents obviously tried to calm me down. And obviously things like, because I need to say this for the podcast, because the youth now, they're used to things being so instant.
Yeah.
In my day, we used to have pen pals. You would write, it would take 2 weeks to get your response, and you would write again, and then the back and forth took a month. Also, apart from that, also sending things. Now you send things, it goes zip, you get it probably next day, you can have next day delivery or 48 hours from anywhere in the world. In my day, things went by ship when I was a child. And, so I was bullied by that as well. I would try to say, I have something I would love to show you when all my things arrive. It's still on the ship on the high seas, Wow. And I remember one day somebody saying to me, yeah, all your things are on the ship, including your head, because you keep telling us everything is on the ship. When are we going to see these things? And I cried my eyes out. I'm like, no, everything is on the ship. So, that is important for the youth of today to know about, that we had to wait ages for anything. Taught us patience. It taught us resilience, Now in the instant world, it's you run into a danger of, if things don't arrive immediately, you are just so burnt out. We have higher rates of anxiety and things like that because, people expect things to move like really, really quickly, and everyone's moving so fast. Sometimes you just need to take a breath, relax, and breathe. So yes, I did get some incidents of bullying, like I told you. Those are the two. times that I remember. But now I laugh when I think about it. Thank God I don't have any lingering pain or trauma. It wasn't too bad. And, you know, when you come from a society that has punishments in school, gosh, we used to get punished, you know, and things like that. You become, you know, you begin to be able to dust things off your shoulder pretty quickly. Because, you know, like they used to say in those days, cry and you'll see I'll give you something to cry about, really cry about, you know.
Different generation.
Different generation, totally different,
right.
you know. So I want the youth now to be more resilient, you know, take things in your stride.
I love that.
You know, try and know that there is a better tomorrow always, and don't take it so much to heart.
I love that.
Yeah.
In, around 7 years old, you told your father you wanted to become a diplomat.
Yeah.
What did you see in him or in that world that made such a young girl choose that path? I'm not sure if that's the photo of your dad.
That's my dad, my mom, and me.
Fantastic.
So I wasn't even 7. I was younger. It must have been between 5 and 6 or something like that. And, you know, I told you my dad was my first teacher in diplomacy. I shadowed him, and I told you in those days, and that's another thing I would tell the youth of today. There's no need to completely separate your life from your family, your working life from your family. Because, you know, your children shadow you. You're their first teacher. So he was my first teacher. Well, both of my parents were. And I would shadow him, follow him around. I saw how he dealt with the diplomatic community. I saw my mother host diplomatic receptions and the table settings and things like that. I saw my dad talk. He was such an orator. And I learned all of that. So even so the courses that I studied were based on him, you know, and some of the things that he did. So I was 6 and I settled straight away into that world and said, I'm going to be a diplomat when I grow up. I think maybe he thought I might change my mind at some point. And I remember somebody, when I finished university, somebody offering me a bank job, and we turned it down because, you know, I kept telling him that I was going to be a diplomat, like I told you there. This is what I want to do. So eventually we had to go when, you know, there was a vacancy and they were recruiting in our Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I waited until, you know, I saw that they were recruiting in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and then, you know, I was put forward because at that time my dad was able to know that, oh, they're recruiting in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs because he found out because to get into diplomacy, you have to go in through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or the related agencies, and you have to join the civil service. So the first thing you do is go to the civil service, the civil service secretariat, open a file, put your name down there, and when they are recruiting, they let you know. You need to know your federal commissioner in Nigeria, so, you know, at that time, our federal commissioner was somebody who later became interim First Lady of Nigeria, the federal commissioner for Lagos and, you know, from Lagos State. And so Her Excellency Mrs. Shonekon. So she was the one in charge of my state at that time. So my name was amongst the pile of those that had applied to go into the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And therefore, I was shortlisted as one of the Lagos people. During my time, we were called the G62, Group of 62, because we are 2 from each state. So I was one of the 2 people recruited from Lagos State at that time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you really just touched me there when you talked about the banking job and diplomat.
Yeah.
Right? Because the banking job, for most people, that's where the money is,
Exactly.
right? I want to get into that.
Exactly.
And you then turn around and said, no, I want to be a diplomat.
I know.
Which you got to struggle and hustle.
I know.
Go through so many hoops and bumps.
And even take a lower position than what I was, you know, because I was in an interview when someone said, "Oh, but your dad was in the system. Are you not a Nepo baby?" I said, "No. I took the job on a lower rung than I should have taken because that was what they said they had available." So I had a first degree, I had a postgraduate diploma, I had a master's degree. And when you come in with a first degree, they put you on level 8. When you come in with a master's degree, they tend to put you on level 9. But there was no level 9 available, and they told me there was only level 8 available, and I took it. So if I was a Nepo baby, I wouldn't have taken a lower level than maybe what I should have got. So I started from scratch. I did, and I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, I'm even surprised because most people would have gone for the
And I
banking.
would have gone for the banking job. Everybody kept going, "Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Take a banking job." And it was my dad's friend, and he offered me this banking job and said, come. He was heading a bank at that time, and said, come and start. And I said to my dad, "No, I'm not going in there." My dad said, "Yeah, it's not what you want to do, is it?" I said, "No, I still want to go into diplomacy."
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. For most people then, what was that reason why you chose Diplomat over being a banker?
Remember I told you this is something I wanted to do from the age of like 5. I followed my dad around. I dreamed about it. The courses that I did were geared towards diplomacy. I did a first degree in history because I wanted to know the background. I wanted to know about the world wars. I wanted to know about, what caused wars around the world. I wanted to know about the United Nations. I wanted to know about, all of that history. I did a Bachelor of Arts in History. I did a postgraduate diploma in mass communication because I wanted to do public speaking. I wanted to know a little bit more about my father's world. So I did a postgraduate diploma, and then I did a master's in international law and diplomacy. So I was geared and ready for this diplomatic world. So I wasn't going to go into banking. I didn't care what they were going to pay me.
Wow.
I was set on becoming a diplomat, and I'm glad I stuck to my guns. It's been a fulfilling career.
Yeah, it has been indeed.
Yeah.
Your father regularly asked you for your opinion and made you feel that your voice mattered. How did that shape your confidence, and what happens to a young girl who grew up never been asked what they think?
So, that's a very deep question because I think it's important in today's world where we're trying to make sure that girls know their place in the world. We make sure that they know that they can be listened to and heard. I was like a partner. So my parents got married really early, in their early 20s.
Wow.
So they had me in their early 20s. And by the time my father was turning 40, I was already 16. I helped to plan that party. And, I was like my dad's partner. My mom used to say, "Oh, well, you and your dad decide." So she always left it to me. And so it was always me and my dad deciding things. So he would ask me, we would debate it, we would talk about it, and he listened to us. Not just me, all my siblings. He would talk about things to all of us. And but I was like the partner, and we did a lot of things together. And I kept telling you that my mom gave me responsibility. So please don't be shy to give your children responsibility. It shapes them, it makes them grow. She gave me a lot of tasks and asked me to do a lot of things, which I treasure, and I'm so happy. And so I would sit with Daddy, and we would discuss, and we would come to decisions about things. And it gave me so much confidence because you feel intelligent, you feel heard, and you know that things will get resolved if you have issues. So it's something that I want parents to know out there. This is very important for your girl child in particular, because the world is still a man's world. We are trying very hard to make sure girls become a part of it. I mean, I do a lot of things in scholarship, in education, in skills acquisition programs, digital literacy for girls, championing women in leadership, trying to get women in leadership positions, sponsoring girls into school, and so many other things that we do. We're trying our best. But you see, the home is the first learning place. And if a girl at home never feels listened to, when she goes out into the world, she would never feel she has anything to offer. She would probably always pull back from venturing her opinions because she's used to never being listened to. So please don't shut down your girls. Please give them confidence. Please give them the opportunity to influence things. I remember the very first meal I made for my dad. I was 10 or so, or 8. It was awful. I mean, I'm sitting here today. I cried after I made it. I said, I know it's not good. It's really... He said, no, it's wonderful for like a... And he sat there and he ate it.
Wow.
And he ate it, you know? Somebody else will have been, oh my God, go try some other time. No, he sat there and he ate it, and I sat with him at the table, and I was just so pleased with myself, as pleased as punch. So, and it made me cook again, you know? But when you shut down your kids too hard, it might stop them from even trying again. They might decide, you know what, I'm not going to do it anymore because, you know, what's the point? I'm going to be shut down anyway. And in my day, you know, people used to say you had only 4 career paths, didn't they? You could either be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or what was the 4th one? Accountant or something. There were 4 career paths. But because my dad was already a creative in those days, so he knew that you had to give children the opportunity to be who they wanted to be. So we had that opportunity to express ourselves. But in our day, we didn't have options. A lot of parents molded their children to go in this very narrow direction. And I'm so happy now when I see, because I have a lot of very young women that I, you know, mentor, that are part of my tribe, as I call them. And they do so many things. They're bankers as well as dressmakers. There's somebody, I posted her on my Instagram recently. She was a banker for 16 years and decided, you know, I've always wanted to be a dressmaker and a designer. And she decided to quit banking, and now she's making so much money and she's designing. She is happy. And so you would know that that sort of person from the beginning probably should have gone into the creative, into fashion, you know? So, but it's okay. She managed to find her way out and do it. So please let your children be creative. Please listen to them. Please let your girl child speak at the table. Let her have an opinion. Shape her. Because also from the home, like I said, is your first school. And a lot of the things that you take outside, your confidence and everything else, is shaped from home. So if you're not listened to at home, if you're not given an opportunity to speak, if you're not given an opportunity to shine or to participate in things, how do you now navigate the world? You know?
I love that, you know.
Yeah.
I love the aspect of you bringing girls, making it known, and I know I'm from Africa myself,
Yes.
and I know how challenging that
Yes.
is. You know, they have this tradition where a woman
Yes.
needs to
Traditional
get married,
female roles.
be a wife,
Yeah.
and then that's it. That's your career basically. So and coming from the West Africa myself,
Yes.
and I would envisage, it's not easy. So what challenges are you currently facing? You know, to help girls be themselves, knowing that they are the same as a man, and because you know it's kind of engraved in our culture, right? So, what sort of challenges are you facing to actually get that support to help those girls?
So, I think a lot of things can be achieved when you have the will. Like the political will. For instance, in Kwara State, where my husband is governor, the governor of Kwara State is known as a he for she. He's a woman advocate, and he is somebody who has always been a partner in making sure that we get our women. So in his first tenure, he had more women than men in his cabinet.
Wow.
That was tough.
Of course.
And, people were like, my God, can he do this? Is this not political suicide? How is he going to get a second tenure with doing this? This is unheard of. But he did get a second tenure because people started buying into it. You see, the women he gave the chances to became so effective. They wanted to show that, confidence reposed in them was not misplaced. So they did all they could to shine and to make sure. And then other men brought their wives forward. Now, oh, she can do this, she can do that. And then the skills acquisition programs we did, we started training people. I had a first-class emir. If you know what the emirs are, our kings, emirs in a first class. So because we have them first class, second class, that we have different layers of the royal traditional class. And one of the kings said his daughter will join my skills acquisition program. That helped me because we were able to showcase that, she was in university and she came to do a dressmaking course that I was teaching people. So a lot more people, knowing that the king brought his daughter, brought their own children out, to come and join. And this is the way to go. We need to make sure that we include the traditional ruling class, the religious ruling class, the religious class as well, to be part of what we're doing. And then the private sector. So that way, when you have that sort of rounded way of trying to tackle these things, you get more successes. So we were able to implement things like the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act laws in all the states in Nigeria, the Child's Rights Act in all the states, because we made sure that we were multi-sectoral. When you get different sectors and you make sure that you sensitize. So I made an example recently. I said, if you just announce something, you might have backlash. You might have people not buying in. It's like, no, why would you tell us to do that? We don't know anything about this. But when you sensitize over time, tell people the benefits of doing it, tell them why they should do it, tell people that if you educate your girl, she would in turn educate her children. You begin to bring your family out of poverty because she can earn a living. Her children are better educated. She can help her husband. I will give you an example. One woman that we gave some funding to, I trained them in drone technology for farming. And she was able to take this knowledge to her small farm and utilize it. Those drones are so effective. They can use it to spread seeds. They can use it to fly around, see the perimeter, see what needs to be done in what angle at a fraction of the time. Before you can walk around a whole farm, the drone's zipped around the whole farm. It's come back. It's, you've seen what you need to do. Then it can spread seeds. It can even sometimes spray things. Yes. Wow. So drone technology for farming is unbelievably effective for farmers. And we trained her. And she came back and she said, oh my God, I paid the school fees this term. And my husband couldn't believe it. And he was looking at me and, we have such peace and love in the house at the moment, because he was also struggling. And this is so when you try and sensitize, I get people, they go into the markets, they give out all my flyers, my messaging, and all these things. And, I go on radio, I go on television, I'm on your podcast for this very reason.
Absolutely.
The more people you can reach, the better. So when you reach, they begin to reason with you. And then it's not so much a challenge anymore. So I don't have that many challenges. I've managed to get the traditional rulers. They hold court. They get their people to buy into what the governor and the first ladies say. First ladies are colorful. I dress up, I go somewhere, everybody runs out to come and see their first lady. They want to have a one-on-one, they want to chat with me. Go into the community, let them see you, talk to them, and do the podcasts, do the radio jingles, be on television, put it in the newspapers, sensitize, messaging, and tell them how your father this message of how my father trained me. I got 4 degrees.
Wow.
I told you the degrees. I did the BA, I did the postgraduate diploma, I did the master's, and in my day, that was when we were learning computing, right? So I had to do a certificate in computing because, as well. I did all 4, and that was my dad pushing me to do that. And I told them, I'm a daughter, and my dad was able to tell me to do all these things. He didn't regret it. Neither does my husband. My husband doesn't regret that I have some skills. He draws on it. He utilizes me to do certain things for him. So stop seeing that if you educate your daughter, it's something bad, or it's going to be, or people are worried about her maintaining a home. No, I think the greatest, most intelligent women are humble and and want to keep a good home, want to keep a husband and children. My friend is here. She's a university graduate here as well, keeping a good home with a family, and everybody around her. She's a good daughter as well, and carrying on her father's business, same thing. So I think this is how we minimize the challenges. It's not that everybody is going to come on board, but if you're doing 80-90%, you're onto a good thing.
Absolutely. I love that. That really touched me. It seriously touched me, because I've seen things back home, how girls cannot say anything. They're either being controlled with money or power, or they're just like in a little prison. They can't even breathe because they're not financially independent. Not just financially independent, but they can't say anything. So to have influential people like yourself advocating that, and I believe you will make a massive difference, because, as I said, you're out there talking about it,
we have to
communicating
talk
about it, telling people about it, and that's how we met as well a couple of years ago.
Yes, that's how
so
we
that
met.
is absolutely amazing. When you joined the Minister of Foreign Affairs in 1993, how different was that reality of diplomacy from the dream you had carried since childhood?
So my dream of diplomacy was obviously more of the literary side. My father was an information attaché, so it was more press releases, going to events and making sure that Nigeria was projected in a certain way, negotiations and all of that. I joined mainstream diplomacy. I joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and so diplomacy was a lot more all-encompassing than I thought it was. We do everything. You do political, you do trade and investment and economic, you do consular, and then you have to take care of your citizens in the country. I don't think a lot of people know exactly what diplomatic, what our embassies, high commissions and consulates do. It's not just consular activity. It's not just visas and passports.
I thought it was just visas and passports. That's all right, folks.
It is that is our first line of relations with another country, either bilateral or multilateral. For instance, between Nigeria and the United Kingdom, where we're having this podcast, it is from here that you have the meetings, the political meetings, and try and get agreements which are then transmitted to Nigeria, and then you start working on it. It's a lot of the time from here, from the trade desk, that you get trade envoys going back and forth, agreements are signed and things like that. So it was a lot more encompassing than I thought, and I'm so grateful. I've done almost all the desks. When I was here, I did consular, I did political, I did the Commonwealth. At one point, I was Nigeria's representative on the board of governors for the Commonwealth. I did political, I did trade and investment, and I did consular education and welfare. And I did all the departments. So it was a lot more encompassing than what I thought as a child. And it opened my eyes. But because I'd really was ready. I'd done a lot of courses. I think I was quite ready to to take it all on board.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You're right. You represented Nigeria in London, Pretoria, and Paris. Which post changed you the most deeply as a person, and what happened there that you've never forgotten?
So I did do postings to the UK, to France, and to South Africa, but I also did diplomatic trainings. So I did diplomatic trainings in Germany. I did in Greece. Yes, I did some diplomatic exams in places like Kenya, and a few other places we traveled to. So a lot of the work that we did, you cannot choose really, because there is always something you learn in every different post. In South Africa, we were concurrently accredited to the Kingdoms of Lesotho, and at that time it was called Swaziland. It's now called Eswatini. So, from that lens, the whole of the Southern African bloc, and then we used to travel to Kenya for a lot of things. So a lot of things I took away from that. Paris was wonderful, and it was while I was in France that Nigeria established diplomatic relations with the Principality of Monaco. And I was the officer that was there to facilitate that and, exchange the instruments and start the diplomatic relations between both the Principality of Monaco. And so I also saw it from that lens of France, Monaco, south of France, that whole area. I saw a lot of things in the UK, and I was so pleasantly wowed when I was in particular handling that desk where I was in charge of the Nigerians. So I went to see the Nigerians in as far as Scotland, in Glasgow. I went to Manchester. I went all over. For the first time, I went to Newcastle recently. So I went all over the UK doing a lot of that. And, in each post, you learn a little bit more about yourself, and you learn a little bit more about the job. One defining moment, though, that I wouldn't say it shaped me in a way, because it shows you that you always have to be ready so that you don't have to get ready. Read widely, be ready for meetings, make sure that if anything comes at you at a moment's notice, you can at least have a rudimentary knowledge. Research where you're going. Don't just walk in blind and try and blag your way through things. Do a little bit of research. And that's a really important message for the youth of today. Because you see, we see a lot of things online where people comment and, they read the first 3 seconds of something and then they start commenting. They haven't really researched it. They don't really know the background. They don't know the nuances. And it's important that they know the background of things. So this particular incident was when I was here serving in the High Commission here. And Nigeria is a member of the International Maritime Organization. It's like the United Nations. It's also over 170 countries that are members, and they always have their plenary. And I had just reported to work in London, and I was just, walking along behind my superiors at that time. And I sat down and I was thinking, okay, I'm going to watch the proceedings just to learn how you talk in a multilateral setting, because the UK is a diplomatic mission. It's country to another country, but the IMO is a multilateral organization within the UK. So I sat down just thinking, okay, let me watch and see what's happening. And then my the minister at that time, in the High Commission, who was the head of department at that time, hands me a document and says, "You will present Nigeria's position today."
What?
I said, "No, I can't do this. I've never been here. This is my first time here. I'm just reporting for duty. How? I'm going to mess it up." He said, No. We have every faith that you do it properly. Well, I had to calm myself down. And, I looked around me. Okay, how are they signaling that it's their turn to speak? That's how I noticed that you had to put up your flag, raise your flag to be given the floor, to be noticed. That's how I noticed the nuances. I started looking around the room and, all of that. And eventually I delivered the statement. And they gave me an applause, and I was wowed. And I'm like, oh my God, I did that. So you know what? Be ready so you don't have to get ready, because opportunity can fall in your lap at any moment. Maybe you have 5 minutes in a room to give a pitch. Maybe you're looking for an opportunity to do something. Don't just walk in. You've been invited to a reception. Try to find out a little bit about that reception. What's going on there? What can you talk about there? And then when you go in, you have 5 minutes to make an impression, because first impressions matter.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was a defining moment, I think.
Wow. You just ended up with a couple of cups for that one. Wow, that is beautiful. That is just beautiful. That then takes me to a burning question that I wanted to ask also. The women audiences that are watching or listening this podcast, that are thinking, look, diplomacy, politics, it's not a woman's game. What advice do you have for this?
So this is a very, very important question. I said a little bit earlier that, we're working on women in leadership. In Nigeria, we're trying to work on something called a reserve seats for women bill. We're trying to work on so many things. I'm the First Lady of Kwara State. I'm the chairperson of the Nigeria Governor Spouses Forum, which is the forum of all the First Ladies in Nigeria. And I'm also working with the First Lady of Nigeria on her Renewed Hope initiative, which is her NGO. So on those platforms, we try to make a difference to have women in leadership positions. I'm coming from Kwara State, where my husband is already sold on the idea of women in leadership. And therefore, we have women coming in Kwara State. So for the young woman who's aspiring into leadership positions, what I would say is we are still trying our best to make sure that we can get sponsorship, mentorship for women. It's important that older women, more accomplished women, do a lot more when it comes to mentorship and sponsorship. When a man decides he's running for office or he's doing something, you have 10 men that will come up and say, oh, I'll sponsor him, I'll mentor him, I'll introduce him to this person. They will take him into rooms that matter and all of that. It's a little bit different for a woman. First of all, I don't know, men maybe may think, oh, can I mentor this young lady? Or, maybe it's not something they know how to do, or may think maybe they can't do. But women should step up. Older women, more accomplished women should step into this and make sure that they mentor and sponsor younger women to go into this. I'm now very pleased to inform that there are a lot of organizations now stepping up to train women for leadership positions. I was in Abuja just last week, and there was a federal minister visiting from Switzerland. So she's the minister for women, for culture, for education. I think she runs about 5 ministries. So they had this lunch for her where something called Her Academy, which was run by TOS Foundation. They were able to bring young women that they had trained into a conversation with her and myself and a female senator, just so that they could get our experiences. So try to get mentors, sponsors, try to find out where conversations are being held about women in leadership. Try to join organizations. There are a lot of female organizations and female-led organizations, and a lot of female philanthropic organizations. You see, people look at, and that's one thing about Africa that I need to address as well. When we're in the West here, we talk about philanthropy and we talk about charity work, and almost everybody is supporting one charity or the other. We need to make sure in Africa we're doing a lot more charitable causes. Maybe people think, oh, I don't have a lot of money, I can't do charity. But no, All you need is a little bit, a mere pittance, some coins, a little goes such a long way. Can you imagine if you're reaching 20 million people and each person is just putting down £1? That's a lot of money. So don't ever think that you don't have enough to join charities. Try and join charitable organizations, because sometimes in those philanthropic settings, you meet people that can further your cause and make sure that you get put forward for leadership positions. And then don't be scared to register. And, as they say, the first step is always the necessary beginning. Sometimes you see, men would take the first step and figure it out along the way. Women want to know how they're going to get along. They want to see the end before they start. They need to figure out, is it going to work for me? Men don't do that. I'm a mother of boys. They start. They haven't figured it all out yet. Oh, when we get there, But girls, even the way we organize things, we organize events to the T. Look at a wedding. Look at the boys, the groomsmen, and the what are they called? Bridesmaids, and see the difference. The bridesmaids know where they're going. They've organized the gifts. They've booked the room. They've paid for the room. They've done their outfits. Everything is set. The guys
On the floor. They're on the go.
It's on the go. They're like, we'll figure it out. So, women need to employ a little bit more of that. You don't have to have all the answers at the beginning. You can start small and figure it out along the way, because politics and leadership is like that. You cannot know the answers at the beginning. So please, young women need to step up and step into the arena. And trust me, somebody will pick her up.
I love that. I love that answer. That answer is beautiful. Getting me thinking about the companies. One of the most successful companies in the world are led by women. Right, absolutely, right? So I can really relate to that. I also train or work with professionals like doctors, account females. The ones I train them on to how to invest in real estate properties in the UK. To be honest with you, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
They can only move when they know where they're going.
When they know
right?
they're
like,
going.
Rahim, what is the next step? This step, and that step, until they know the whole picture. Right? They're kind of a bit slow to start because they want to know where they're going. But once they know where they're going, you will not stop them. Literally, they'll get to the destination. And they are one of my best property investors, because they're literally doing absolute. And the attention to detail is amazing. It's amazing. I can relate to that. Diplomacy requires calmness, restraint, careful judgment. Can you take us inside a moment when remaining calm, composed, required everything you had?
So this is very easy. Any diplomat will tell you. So diplomacy is a lot of negotiation. So you have to learn your negotiation techniques. You have to be able to sit at a table and not get broken. You have to be able to sit at the table and be able to discuss, even when a comma in a document is threatening to derail negotiations that have taken months. So when you're negotiating and you have to interpret in different languages, sometimes certain phrases mean different things in different languages. So you find that the English team may agree to it, then the Spanish team will say, no, this means this in our language. Then the French team will say, no, that means that in our language, but this sentence cannot fly. So diplomacy requires a lot of patience, a lot of resilience, and you apply this to everyday life. So you have to be able to work with people without losing your cool, without throwing tantrums, knowing that people would disagree with you, knowing that you're not going to always have everybody on board. You need to sometimes cut your losses. You need to sometimes know when to end certain things. You need to know when you just need to be resilient, and you need to be well-rounded, and you need to be able to talk without losing your cool. Some negotiations take 8 hours, some take 3 days, and you just break to go and sleep, and come back to the table. And it takes months for everybody to be able to agree. So when you're bringing people together, and you're trying to navigate a whole group of people, you need to be able to make sure that what you have to offer is at least okay for everyone, just to a certain extent. You make sure that everyone's happy, basically, with the deal that you have. So diplomacy is about trying to make the world go around. I'm sure you've heard the saying that it's when diplomacy stops that war starts in the world. You see, you don't see diplomats, but behind the scenes, they are the ones keeping the world on an even keel because they're negotiating everything. All the agreements, country agreements, how this neighbor does not encroach borders, how this neighbor is, treating communities that are on the border of two different countries, and it does not explode into war. How we navigate our borders, how we have friendly relations amongst nations, how we make sure the world is going round. Even when it comes to things like climate change, you and I met because we're both supporting sustainability practices.
That's right.
We met at a conference on sustainability. 2 years almost to the day.
Absolutely.
And so this is it. It's also negotiation. We're trying to make sure that people plant trees, people make things green, so that, people have sustainable practices, use bamboo instead of plastic, so we're trying our best. It's all diplomacy. It's all negotiation. It's all trying to get people to make sure the earth is a better place to be on. Make sure our planet is a better place for us all to inhabit. So basically, that's what it is.
Wow.
So yeah.
A beautiful Folake from Lagos.
Yes.
How
Thank
did
you.
you end up being in Kwara State?
Oh gosh, yes. So this is the journey of me and my husband. I was in third year of university. I'm from Lagos State. I was in University of Lagos. My husband had just relocated back to Nigeria from the UK where he was studying, and we met by chance on campus. He'd come to visit some people. I think they were a little bit lost, and I offered to show them the person. They come to see a few of them. I knew the person. I offered to show them the way, and and he came back the next day to see me. And
Did you get lost on purpose?
And this is almost 40 years now that we met.
Wow. So
I married into Kwara State. And Kwara has been a very wonderful state for me to be a part of. They've been loving, they've been kind. They love their governor and have extended that love to me. And I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Mr. Rahim Abdulrazaq, his name is, I remember that right. And he's doing absolutely amazing in Kagawa. I did a research, giving voices to females, technology, all this stuff around that. He said, there's a word that said, behind any successful man, or now we say beside.
It's beside.
Now it's beside.
Yeah.
Any successful man, there's even a stronger, a greater woman behind them. Behind closed doors.
Yeah.
What are the conversations you do have to support us?
Yeah. So, like you said, my husband went into politics from an entrepreneurial background. He was in oil and gas. He had his own company, his Nigeria's first indigenous oil company, First Fuels. And he did that and did a few other things, very entrepreneurial. And he just wanted to make a difference. He felt, I can change things. I can make this happen. The success I have in business, I can apply it to the state. And, it's all yielding very wonderful dividends. You can see the innovation hub that we have in Kwara State is the biggest in West Africa. and it is just amazing. It's also so we're winning an award tomorrow because it's also a sustainable building.
Congratulations.
It's run on 100% solar energy.
Wow.
Yeah, 100%, and it's got thousands of workplaces and people in there, hundreds and hundreds of people, and their workplaces are free. So this innovation hub has been a game changer for people, and it has helped the region. So people come from the north, they come from the west, to use the innovation hub. We have the Kwara garment factory. This, like I said, can have 4,000 people working at the same time.
Wow.
It's industrial scale, garment making. From every step of garment making, it's just unbelievable. It's transformed lives. We have the Sugar Factory Film Studios, also the biggest in West Africa, and a lot of events have been held there. We held the last Nollywood. You all know about Nollywood,
Yeah.
Nigeria, and producing films and all of that. So we had the Nollywood Awards, the last Nollywood Awards at the Sugar Factory Film Studios. So Kwara is becoming a great big hub for all these industries, so tourism as well. We have the tallest free waterfall in West Africa, Uwu Falls. So we're also trying to get tourism done. And honestly, I have to invite people to Kwara to come and see by themselves. The roads network, the everything, infrastructure is unbelievable. And we are very grateful to the governor, my dear husband, for doing all this work. He did say he would transform Kwara, and he's walking the talk.
It is, absolutely. Absolutely. And I've seen the transformation. See, 2019,
Yes,
I think
yes,
it was, to now.
yes.
It's absolutely amazing. So, in the political world, or in your diplomatic world, have you ever felt ignored as a lady where there are a bunch of men sitting and listening to you?
Honestly, I'm going to answer that in a short sentence. The answer is no.
Fantastic.
I told you when I was at the IMO, it was a man who gave me that sheet and said, "You are presenting Nigeria's statement today." They gave me opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And I've always had, male partners really, really rooting for me. And I'm very grateful to all of them, starting with my father, then my husband, whom I met when I was 19. Yeah. And then my male bosses also gave me opportunities. They put me forward for courses. They put me forward for opportunities. They got me posted to various locations, and they gave me room to speak. I've always felt that I had room to speak. I've never been shut down, but I think also it's important, like I said, how you start at home.
Mm-hmm.
There's also an aura about you that shows confidence, that shows intellect, that shows that you know what you're speaking about. And I don't think when you walk into a room, men will find it easy to ignore you. I think they can tell. You walk in and they think, she can be a good ally. We want to achieve something here. I think she can contribute. I think it's important for women to walk tall, have their head held high, have some confidence. Know, and remember what I said, know your topic, research. Don't just walk into a place without knowing what is going on there, Do some research before you get there. And I think that would always come before you. It will speak as soon as you walk into the room. And I think that way, men would always take you seriously.
I love that. When your husband became a governor and you stepped into the role of First Lady, when did you first realize that your life and time no longer completely belongs to you?
So remember, I'm a diplomat. I've lived all over the world. I don't think my time has ever really been mine since I became an adult. I've always had to balance being a wife, a mother, and having a job. So sometimes I tell friends that I don't know how to be without working. I think we've had that conversation all the time. I have another friend here. When we're not working, we feel anxious. When we're not giving, we feel anxious. I can't go to a spa and sit down for 4 treatments over maybe 2-3 days I need to get out of there. So I can sit and do one or two things, and then I have to move. So I would say that I've always been that way all my adult life because I've always worked, and I've always worked in a demanding field. So I've always learned to have to balance things. And therefore becoming a first lady was just another step to that, because I was always in the public service. This is also public service, and it was familiar territory to me. So maybe I had a little bit of an unfair advantage to somebody else who hadn't ever worked in the public system or hadn't ever worked at all, because some first ladies become first ladies haven't never worked, haven't come from being a homemaker to being a first lady. So maybe I knew a little bit more about what I was doing because I'd had that advantage. Your life is never your own. You always have to balance things out and make sure. But I've been doing that a long time in my diplomatic work, living abroad, being married, having children, putting my children with me, and sometimes in boarding school, having to run back and forth between them and work, having to balance things, also making sure you're a good daughter and checking on your parents, making sure you're a good sibling. I read somewhere the other day that our sibling relationships are so important. Your siblings will know you longer than most people in this world.
Yes.
Wow.
They will know you longer than your parents most of the time, because they will continue on when we no longer have our parents. And they were there from when you were a child. So it's important to nurture sibling relationships as well and make sure they're part of what you're doing. So, we have to keep moving and keep trying to do things. So when I'm lying down, having, whether it's a facial or reflexology or something, and I think, oh my God, I need to be somewhere. So I have to dump up and then, try and be somewhere where I can be making a difference. I love being a humanitarian. I started with my dad. He gave back a lot, scholarships, this and that and the other. So being a humanitarian, trying to give back, trying to help the less fortunate, trying to give scholarships, trying to give skills acquisition programs, trying to make sure that we get partnerships for, innovations back home, health indices, making sure we improve on all our health outcomes, making sure all these things are done. It's paramount. And it's something that I love doing, that I'm privileged to be doing. I always consider, I never feel tired, because I think responsibility is privilege. When you're given a charge, I think it's privilege. I'm privileged to be doing all what I'm doing. It's an honor.
Yeah, plus you love what you do.
And I love it. Yeah.
Of all the women and children, vulnerable families you have met through the Ajike People Support Centre, whose story still returns to you when you're alone, and why?
So I have met so many women, thousands and thousands and thousands, and the youth and children. So we say we First Ladies represent the youth, women, and children. Like I said, we try to make sure that we improve on health outcomes, on economic, background, making sure that we can help to lift people out of poverty. We try to help children be in school. We try to help make sure that we don't have indigent children, out of school children. We try to make sure they're healthy. We're very happy that Kwara has been named the best state to be born and live in Nigeria. Because of all our health outcomes, we've brought malaria down. We make sure that our kids are vaccinated and so many other things. We got, HPV vaccine, measles, rubella, the malaria chemo, and all these things. So I've met a lot of women and children, and it would be very difficult to pick one thing. But having said that, it's not a more special story, but it made headlines. So I will focus on that for that mere reason, because it made headlines. There was the blue-eyed woman.
Blue-eyed?
Yes. So she had blue eyes, and her two daughters had blue eyes. Because of this, she was, ridiculed. They were called witches. They were spat at, a lot of things. Her husband left in frustration because of all the things that were going on. Her husband's family didn't quite accept. But the husband eventually agreed, said it was the blue eyes that actually attracted him in the first place. But because of all the attendant problems and everybody going on and on about this, they kind of split up. Eventually, we managed to reconcile them. We got them, I got the children scholarships in a school, the two girls. And I spoke to the Commissioner for Education, and with my husband, we were able to try to get it in the curriculum for people to be taught about genealogy and how a black person could end up having blue eyes. If you read, apparently every blue-eyed person in the world comes from one common ancestor. If you read that and know that it could happen randomly anywhere through genes, and know that they're not witches, try and explain the biology of it in schools. And we made sure that we got her into fashion. We got some fashion shoots, and so she appeared in magazines, she appeared on blogs, she appeared in different places, and everybody suddenly saw the beauty of a woman with blue eyes, rather than think, oh my God, she's some sort of demon or some sort of witch from God knows where. And they started understanding, and because of the sensitization we did, we spoke about this everywhere. We put her in good clothes, and then I had to house them. So I got them a house herself, and that way we were able to now, because they were living in the family home. So we got her a place with her husband and the children, so they were able to reconcile. And then they now had a cohesive home. We got her a business. She was one of those that I did the skills acquisition for. And because of her, exquisite features and, how unique they were, I thought she should go into the makeup and makeover, which she did. And therefore she was able to do makeup and makeover as a business. She also wanted to be able to dispense, we have, they're not quite pharmacies, but they are medicine shops, as we call them in Africa. And she can sell some medication that is not necessarily prescription, but maybe just headache tablets and things like that. And they do a little bit of a course to be able to do that. So she did that course to be able to do those two things at the same time. So also the messages be multidimensional. You don't have to do only one thing. But then I must admit that the youth are doing that now. Some people are in one job and they have a restaurant. They have, they're doing 2-3 businesses. It's great. So she was able to do that, and we were able to transform her life and her children's lives, and they were able to start a decent living, and they were now warmly received everywhere rather than shunned. So we were able to change mindsets. So it's what we're trying to do with various what we call harmful practices. So apart from the blue-eyed woman, there's also female genital mutilation. There's also, all these other things that that are cultural, but are negative and harmful. And we have to try and change perceptions and change people's mindsets that, not everything cultural that you did, that our ancestors did, should we continue to do now. Female genital mutilation is one of them. It's very, very damaging to girls and has to be eradicated. So we try. So that particular story and what we're doing in FGM and other health, indices, those are the things that I really hold dear to my heart.
I love the FGM part, because Africa, lots of ladies are going through that. Sometimes they don't even know what's happening. So you committing yourself into that, blowing that trumpet is
so
absolutely
important.
Amazing. So I can feel that. I have some of my friends that were born in Africa. They're going through that trauma right now, struggling. People think they're just different creatures when it happens to be the same sort of human being. Yes, I love that. So I like the charity part you've talked about there. I feed about 500 people a month in Africa.
Well done.
So I'm Sierra Leone, but I want to move that to Nigeria as well. So I think
I will be ready to welcome.
I would love to partner with you.
Come with me.
Yes,
We'll
do that. So when we look honestly at Nigeria today, what is the country's greatest challenge, and what opportunity do you believe we are still failing to recognize?
So Nigeria, to me, Our greatest challenge is also our greatest blessing. We have a huge population. We're the world's most populous black nation. So that can be a challenge in trying to make sure that you are able to feed, educate, give jobs to, and train all these people. At the same time, it's our greatest blessing because we have a young population, and our population is thriving all over the world. They're inquisitive, they're educated, they're trying their best to be the best that they can be. Of course, no country has it 100%. There will always be some bad eggs, but by and large, go to any country and look at the educated class. Nigerians are always part of the most educated class. They are always part of the most entrepreneurial class, and they're doing their best. So this is what I think we need. Our population, our greatest challenge, our greatest blessing. So it's the same thing. It's two sides of a coin. And the more we keep improving our economy, the more we keep training our people, educating, creating jobs, developing the country, the better for Nigeria and the rest of the continent and West Africa. You're my West African brother, so
absolutely.
we make sure that we get it all done together.
Yeah. When the titles eventually disappears, First Lady, Ambassador, Chairperson, what do you hope remains in life of other people you serve, and what would you want your children to say?
So first of all, not all titles disappear. Ambassador is a title for life. You remain a title whether you're in position or not. It remains a title you carry for life. And I think I will do what my father, my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, my mother, I think I will do what they're doing. I will always work. I think retirement is, when you go and find out about people, when they retire, when they stop moving, when they stop working, they kind of lose their sense of self, and they kind of slow down. So I've done a lot in diplomacy. I've done and what I've achieved in a lot of countries. I got an award here from the Home Office. I think that was the first time they were awarding an African diplomat with joint working in the Home Office in the UK. I was able to establish diplomatic relations with the Principality of Monaco. I was the officer that handled that. I was able to work in South Africa, and we moved businesses between South Africa and Nigeria and so many things. So there's so many achievements that I would do. So I've done a book on what I've achieved as a First Lady. I still need to do a book on what I've achieved in diplomacy, which I will, by God's grace. And so many other things. And then my humanitarian work and all the things that I'm doing as a humanitarian. I will always try my best to continue to give back for as long as I can, for always. I will always try and represent my country the best way that I can. I will find ways to, my father-in-law, I don't see him ever retiring. He was 94 when he died. He was president of the Stock Exchange, Nigeria's first ambassador to Cote d'Ivoire. He was a minister in the First Republic, and he continued doing that. My mother-in-law is doing the same thing. My father-in-law was really writing. He was in newspapers. He was publishing almost till the end. So that is what my legacy is, and that is what I think I will do. And I think my children, great-grandchildren, grandchildren will do what I've done. I went to Yoruba Tennis Club in Lagos State. I saw my grandfather's name.
Wow.
Yes, on there as one of the founders and financial secretary for 5 years. He played tennis. He was Nigerian champion for the Nigerian Protectorate. And, I went back to Yoruba Tennis Club to see his name. So, I want my children to always be able, and my grandchildren, and those coming behind to always be able to point to me and say, oh my God, she did a great job. And this is what grandma, great-grandma, great-great-great-great-grandma, this is who she was, who she stood for. I'm very lucky that she can look at 7 generations, 8 generations. I can do the same. I have generations upon generations that I can call on, and I will just add my name to it, and my children have that, a line of forebears, and my great-grandchildren to look at. It will be a life of service, right?
Yeah,
It's been a life of service.
fantastic. This podcast is called Success Blueprint. What does Success Blueprint means to you?
So success and the blueprint is just be yourself. You have to be happy. You have to be able to achieve in your own way. As they say, be yourself because everybody else is taken. So your success is measured by what you do and what you achieve by being yourself. I'm myself. I wanted to be a diplomat from the age of 5, and that's what I've done. I've done that, and I'm a humanitarian. I get joy from being a humanitarian. I derive a lot of joy from it. Don't stay in what you hate. No matter how successful that may seem to you, or whatever the dollar point is, success is making a difference in the way that you can, loving yourself, being happy that you are here, achieving that. That is the blueprint. You have to be yourself. You have to achieve. You have to be successful and be happy at it. Don't be miserable. It's not good. It's not good for anybody.
What an amazing way to end the podcast. That was a great special moment with you. If someone is interested in your services, what you do, where are the best places we can contact you from, or maybe watch your story or your journey?
Well, there are a lot of things. There are a lot of places. You've got my LinkedIn page. You have that. You've got my Instagram pages. I think what we're going to do now is on the Instagram pages, we'll also put email addresses and phone numbers. So First Lady Kwara is my Instagram. My LinkedIn is my name, is Ambassador Professor Olufolake Abdulrazaq. It's the same thing on Facebook, First Lady of Kwara. I think they're on TikTok. I think they're on X, my team, and all of that. And obviously write to Government House, Kwara State. I'm there. Also write to the Secretariat of the First Ladies. I'm the chairperson of the Nigeria Governor Spouses Forum. Our secretariat is in Asokoro in Abuja. I think I will put all those links on my Instagram page.
It's been an amazing, absolute amazing pleasure interviewing you. Thank you. Thank you for the inspiration. Thank you for what you're working at. Thank you for helping people transform their life, empowering females. It is one of the best thing I could ever imagine for Africa. So thank you. And it was lovely to have you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you.